Casey. As you can see, I have a bunch of boxes here in front of me. So word has gotten out that I am now offering Blythe repairs and Blythe troubleshooting. I have a listing available in my shop. I will put a link below and I'll tell you a little bit more about the process. But I have 3 boxes here on my table that have arrived for some kind of repair. So if you have a Blythe doll and you're having problems with an eye mechanism, or you want to change a body but you don't want to do it yourself, or you're having problems doing it, I can help you. You might remember a while back I did a repair video from a similar situation with a customer's iMech, so I'm hoping that whatever the problems are with these ones, we'll be able to solve it pretty quickly now that we've learned a little bit more about eye mechanisms. Not all of these are about eyes though. I actually had to kind of keep a list of what each person was asking for. For privacy, I'm going to keep it private, but for example, one person has the eye mechanisms not functioning and the head is wobbly. Another just wants eye chips and eyelashes changed. And then a really special one is here in the back in this priority box. This is actually one of my custom dolls that I customized and sold a couple years ago. And she is coming back for pull string change, changing to a jointed body, and possibly a haircut, and I think some eye chip changes. So she's going to get kind of a fresh look. I'm really excited to open her. It's very odd or strange to see a doll you haven't seen in a couple years that you made. So, but we're not going to be doing that one today. I don't want to do them all today. I thought we would start with the first one that arrived, and that is this one. This one is an eye mechanism not functioning and wobbly head issue. So let's open up the box and see what's going on with her. It's a lot of fun to get to see other people's dolls. I'm not sure who the artist of this doll is. Probably says on the back. McKeeves, I don't recognize the name. And I believe some of the history with the doll is that someone else tried to do something with the eye mechanism, and since then it has not been working. So I do not believe this was an artist issue. I think it was a later on making changes issue, so I don't want anyone to feel offended. These things happen. So let's find her strings. Her strings are on ribbons. In general, I don't really recommend ribbons because they're pretty delicate, but okay, so this is going to be the one to open it. So one of the first things to make sure with eye mechanisms is, I think a lot of times people think dolls are less fragile than they are and just kind of yank away. And with custom dolls, you definitely want to be a little bit gentle, and you want to be pulling the string directly out from the head, not down. I think I've talked about this before in a video, but sometimes the issue is as simple as that you're pulling too hard down and you should be pulling out. So make sure you are, and then you pull the other one, same thing, out, not down. So that pair changed. She has quite full hair, which also makes it a little bit hard to pull the strings. So it's looking like she's got some very large glass eyes, and so sometimes glass eyes can be a problem, especially if they stick out too far. As you'll notice, these ones stick out a bit far. It's one of the reasons why I prefer resin chips because they are much more flush with the eye, cause less problems, they're less heavy, but a lot of people like glass. So those ones are, I think, part of the problem. This hair is really hard to deal with. So it looks like it's that pair that's stuck. And it could be those large glass eyes, I'm not sure. But yeah, so they are stuck. So we're gonna have to open her up and figure out what's going on. So the first thing I want to check is that her scalp isn't glued. It doesn't look like it is. It looks like it's probably a fake doll because she's got the pierced ears there. So we shouldn't have any problems opening her, but I'm going to be very delicate and careful to make sure that we don't damage the doll just from opening. Alright, so the most nerve-wracking part of taking or opening a doll is getting the face plates apart, because it's always a little bit intimidating that you might hurt something, especially when you're working on someone else's doll. So that, I'm glad, is over. Let's get this ginormous hair out of the way. And now, one of the problems when you have the strings already on, I'm not sure if she wants to keep these strings. We might just go ahead and take them off. I probably have very similar ribbon. We can redo it because it's a little bit hard when it's so tight on the beads that I can't really get a good look at what's going on. But we're going to try to pull and see why it's not flipping. First thing I do with eye mechanism problems is make sure that the knot is on that side, which it is. So that's not the issue. I am noticing, and I think it might be part of the issue, is that glass pair is, it looks like, rubbing. And I think that that glass pair is probably the issue, since it's the one that's not turning. So let's try again to pull, and we'll kind of watch. Yeah, I think those really thick glass pairs of eyes are just rubbing so hard on the mechanism. That's what it looks like to me is the problem. Because even here you can see that they barely go under the lid. They're hitting on that lid. So I'm actually going to get to with the customer on this one, because I know she wanted this original pair changed. I really think the issue is these glass eyes are so thick. I'm not sure where she got them. They're really pretty, but some of these fake dolls, because I do suspect this is a fake doll, some of them I've noticed lately, the little bar that goes underneath, like the eyelid part, the under eyelid, this bar, I don't know if you can see, has been really thin and not very strong. So with these really thick chips that stick out, and same with this part, has been really close to the eyeball. It just doesn't have enough room to turn in there, and that's what it looks like. So The problem is, the other problem with glass, and the other reason I don't like it, is it's not super easy to get out. With the resin, because the resin is soft, you can stick a pin down there and pop them out very, very easily. Pop them in, pop them out. The glass I really don't like removing. So I don't want to do that without asking the customer, but I have a feeling that's the issue, because when I pull, I'm not seeing any of the typical issues. I'm not seeing, if you remember from my last video, the problem was this bar, which I believe people call the C bar. And I don't see that bar moving at all, so that doesn't seem to be the issue here. It's just when we're changing between those two very thick pairs of glass eyes that it's not rotating. So I'm going to message the customer. What I would like to do is take out the glass eyes and try the mechanism with, say, resin eyes and see if it works. And if it does, then we know that's probably the problem. If it doesn't, then we could troubleshoot a little bit more. So I'm going to check with her, and we will check back on this doll after I hear from her and what she would like to do at this point. So stay tuned. Hi everyone, welcome back. So it's the next day after working on this doll, and I have talked to the customer, and she is somewhat new to Blythe, so the issue with the eyes has not been looked into, which was good news, because that means that I'm probably right with what's wrong. She also was okay with changing the strings, so we're going to cut these ribbons off and change those. So what we're going to do is take out these really thick glass eyes and replace them with resin eyes and see if the problem is solved. If it's not solved, then we'll go from there with determining if it's some other problem with the mech. If the problem is solved, the customer is most likely going to have to not use those glass eyes, or at least not use all of them. So I'm going to try to take out only the pair that is the thickest and see if that solves it. And if not, we'll have to take them all out. So we're going to kind of experiment here. But the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a photograph of the beads so that when I put them back on, I can replace them the way that she has them. So taking photographs of your work is really helpful if you have to go back and do something. So for example, IMEX, like on a MIDI Blythe, I always take a photo of the iMech before I take it apart, because it's really confusing to put those back together. So we took our photos, so now we're just going to snip off these strings. I'm hoping that I can just keep them like that for now to rebead them, but things have a way of getting messed up. So let's get these ribbons off, and we're going to replace it with some better string. We are going to have to take the mech completely out of the doll to get that bottom string out of there. So let's get the T-bar off. Alright, I know I've shown this tool before. It's just a small flathead screwdriver. It's what I use to get mechanisms out. Alright, so she also wanted these orange ones replaced, so we're going to do our typical glue stick removal of those ones. I apologize if you can hear my fan going. It's about 90 degrees here today. It's really, really hot. So as you can see, this eye is sticking up much farther than this one even. So I don't know if maybe they're just not all the way down in there. That pair looks kind of okay. It's this pair that is sticking really, really far out. I don't know if you can, how well you can see that. So that's the pair that I think is causing the problem. It's rubbing against this bar, and it's rubbing against the even that pair it's rubbing against the underside of the eyelid, and that's what's making it get stuck when it's trying to turn. So we're gonna get those out of there. But first, let's get these stock eyes out with our glue stick, which will take a few minutes. I'm also thinking, so I do have some plastic chips to paint. I can't really tell if these chips, they don't look like they were painted. I don't know who made them. They look like they are printed artwork. But I thought we might try putting these in also and testing them, because if she wanted to use something like this, that might be a possibility. So that one I didn't get enough glue on, or this one. So if you've seen previous videos of mine with eye chips, they do sometimes take a while, and I'm trying to rush this, so I'm probably going to need to give it some time to dry really good. Alright, so let's give them a twist. That one's out. And that one's out. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now let's take out these really large ones here. And as I said earlier, it's part of the reason why I don't like the glass is because sometimes they're hard to take out, but that is wonderful. Those came out easily, but it does feel like they were glued a little bit, so I'm hoping they're all gonna come out easily. Alright, so those ones came out. So I'm going to actually put the mechanism back in and see if just removing these really, really thick ones will make it work. But to do that, I need new strings. And because she had pink, I think I will do replacement in pink. So this cord is very thin. I think I've talked about it several times. I do now sell it in my shop by the yard. If you want to get lots of colors without having to buy a whole spool, you can get it in my shop. And the main reason it's nice is because it fits in this hole very nicely. So you might have to burn the end a little bit just to stiffen it, but it should go in there. And now remember, you want the knot on the side with that little knob. So we're going to tie our knot on this side. For this one, doesn't matter what side it's on. I always make sure a few pretty firm tugs to make sure the string is going to hold. If you burn it like I just did, you want to be careful that that doesn't thin it down at all, because that can sometimes happen. But that feels pretty good. So let's put the mechanism back in and we'll see if it turns without any problems. She's got very long eyelashes, which one of the problems with long eyelashes, if you're doing repairs like this, they can get pretty smushed up. So we're going to do our best not to wreck her eyelashes here. Alright, so let's put her T-bar back on. So which pair are we on? Because we're already, it's looks like it's that other glass pair. I think it's still at least that pair, so let's try to take those out. It's moving a little bit better without that really thick pair, and I really suspect this is the problem, because the mechanism feels fine when it's changing. Oh, what What is going on? That bar, that bottom bar looks like it's really thinning out, so we're going to be really careful. These ones are still very, very thick. I think these green ones might be fine, so let's take out these ones. Hopefully they'll come out without much problem. Oh, good. So I feel what it is. They're sticky on the back, not glued. All right, let's see if we can leave that green pair in. Let's try it now. I don't really want to change too much about the doll because, you know, it's the way that it is, or the way that it's been made. I don't really want to change it for her, but if it's not going to work, she would rather change the chips and have the doll work. So let's try it now and see if we can at least leave the green pair. Let's get our lashes out. So it still feels sluggish there. And that wouldn't be those green eyes, because everything that's happening right now does not have eyes. So let's see. Interesting. I don't see what the issue is right there. Let me do some looking and I will come back if I can see what the issue is. Okay, so after messing with it for a little while, it's now working for all of them. I didn't really do anything. I think some of the problem was there might have been some glue or something sticky that has now worn off. That's the only thing I can think of, because now it is functioning all the way around with the green chips still in there. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is put in a couple pairs of resin, and then I will discuss with the customer which chips she wants. I got some, or I made some new designs a couple days ago and just listed them in my shops, and I thought with the hair color of this doll they might look pretty, so I'm just going to put them in and then she can let us know which one she wants. So as you can see with the resin, they're much more flush with the eye. I also usually don't glue mine because they fit right in there. So let's make sure now that it works with the resin in there. So that's one pair. So those are her original, one pair of her originals. And that's another pair. And I'm thinking with her hair, those would be really pretty. So, but it's not my doll, so I'm gonna let her choose. And those ones don't have anything. So I'm gonna put her back together, show the customer, and let me know what eye chip she wants. So again, I hope this video doesn't come off sounding like I'm criticizing anyone, because I'm not. I love glass as well, but they're just very, very thick, and I think in some eye mechanisms they work and they're fine, and others they don't. So just be careful. I also sell glass chips in my shop, so like I said, I'm not against them, but I prefer the resin for so many reasons, because one, they're easy to put in, you don't need any glue, so they're easy to get out if you want to change them, and you don't usually have those problems with the mech not turning. And sometimes with glass or plastic chips, what you want to do is just maybe use one pair. A lot of times it can also be the weight that they add to the mechanism that makes it hard to turn, so using one pair of glass is an option also. So this customer was also talking about the head being wobbly, but I see that there is a rubber band in there and the neck is actually pretty stiff. So I'm pretty certain that the reason she seems wobbly is because this hair is gigantic, and there's probably not much that can be done about that. I'm gonna put her on this body and see. I just don't really think we want to add more of a rubber band because it's already pretty stiff. So let's put her strings through here and get these on. So yeah, I don't really think her head is that wobbly at all compared to some Blythe dolls, so I think that's probably just this hair. So let's see if the mech works now that she's all put together. So still kind of sticky on those green ones. But turning. So I think we're good. I'm going to talk to the customer about the last pair of eyes that she wants put in there, and hopefully those green ones won't cause her any problems, and we'll go from there. So again, if you have a doll that you need someone to troubleshoot and fix for you, check out my Etsy shop. I do have a listing, but please message me before purchasing the listing and letting me know what exactly your problem is or what it is that you want to have done, so that I can even make sure it's something I can do. And anyways, thanks as always for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more tutorial videos, and I'll see you guys all again soon. Bye.